admit you have input to those 5 senses that get overloaded. So my qualified answer was yes. Yes, you could be overstimulated, overloaded. But that doesn't mean you back off and ignore it. Adjust and adapt, compensate with the feeling, what I did in my example, my feeling of my cloth compensated for my eyes and my hearing so that I leveled things out and I maintained my control.
This is Coming Up Clutch with JR, helping the world's best in sports, entertainment, and business make winning a lifestyle.
What's up? It's JR, and welcome to another episode of Coming Up Clutch. Today, we'll be going behind the scenes with Dr. Lowell Wightman. Lowell is a mental performance expert, founder of 360 Mindset, a podcast host, and author of the new book, Coach Me Up. He spent more than 3 decades helping athletes and executives and entertainers and military leaders perform with purpose, not just intensity. His work lives at the intersection of mindset, structure, and measurable execution. If you've listened to this show long enough, you know that's where I like to play too. A former collegiate basketball player at the University of Iowa under legendary coaches like Lute Olson and Dick Schultz, Lowell learned early what elite culture and elite leadership and elite accountability actually look like in real life, not just on some motivational poster. Lowell went on to earn his PhD in educational leadership and human development, and has since coached and collaborated with major college and professional programs, helping them reshape their culture through mental conditioning from the inside out. And if you're an executive athlete listening right now, you know, a former competitor who now leads a business or a team or your family, this conversation is going to challenge how you think about desire, how you think about discipline, and having a sustainable excellence. So today we're going to talk about awareness and how it precedes excellence. We'll get into that whole motivation topic and how motivation isn't hype. It's more about alignment between your desires and behavior. And then we'll get into that and just really remind you that you have more environmental and psychological control than you think. And before I forget, if you're empowered by the show and learning something, just make sure you follow us on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss out when we drop new episodes. Just hit that purple plus on the top right-hand corner of the podcast app. When you do that, you make it easier for others who need this content to see it. And of course, share it. Play that hero to your family, friends, and teammates by giving them the link to this or sending them to comingupclutch.com. And when you go and post about this episode on social, make sure to tag me and Lowell. All right, here we go. Let's get Dr. Lowell Wightman live on the mic. Lowell, my man, say what's up to our coming. We're already laughing. I can't even get the intro down. We're already laughing. Say what's up to our Coming Up Clutch crew.
Well, what's up is we're gonna talk about awareness, and awareness to the point where you know what's coming. And most people wanna know what's coming before it's here, and that's what we're gonna talk about.
We're going to talk about a lot today,
Yeah.
and I'm laughing. You could tell. So the last time I was with Lowell, gosh, this was like what, 10 years
In
ago
Chicago,
ish?
I think. Were we in Chicago?
Houston. No, we were in
Oh, no,
Houston.
Houston. Oh my god, where I missed the catch. Yeah. Oh,
Maybe that's a good segue into the embarrassing moment. The last time this guy literally, we're in this, I don't know, like makeshift gymnasium, whatever. It's really small. Everyone's piled in. There's like 50 to 100 people in the room. I can't remember. And he's throwing live baseballs, demonstrating with kid. Oh God, I don't even want to go there. But Lowell, say what you're already here. You already said what's up. Please share an embarrassing moment that we can laugh about, even though we're laughing already.
Yeah, every parent on the planet has moments like these that are full scale or some portion of this where you forgot to pick your kid up.
Oh,
My My kids were really
jeez.
active, and my son
Oh,
was he played hockey, did all kinds of, hair on fire kind of stuff, and where I'm running a business, and I just got involved in maybe a podcast. No, there weren't podcasts back then. I got involved in a phone call, and I go, "Oh, damn, I gotta go pick up my kid." And the scene is so bad, it cuts right to your core because you're going down the small driveway to the circle in front of the hockey arena, and there's only one kid standing on the curb.
Oh
And,
God.
of course, it's your kid. That's the most embarrassing moment I have ever had
Oh man.
as a father and young adult.
How how old was your son when this
Oh,
happened?
well, at the time, he was like 10, 11.
Jesus. This is bad. This is bad. My rib cage is already like
Yeah,
hurting because I'm laughing.
yeah, it's
That's
it
bad.
yeah, just don't do
Okay.
that. People, don't do
Yeah,
that.
okay, so how did you even recover? First of all, how
Well
did you recover from that from a public perception,
well,
but
at
also with your poor son?
at that time of my
Oh
life,
gosh.
it's his fault.
Of
I say,
course.
because he says that, "Dad, what I've been here for," he makes up a number, an hour. It wasn't an hour, but it was a long time because usually you're waiting in a line with other parents, like dropping off at school, right? Or picking them
That
up at
poor
school.
kid.
I said, "Eric, I was doing a lot of things to pay for your hockey."
No, you oh,
I put it
Jesus.
back on him economically. It
Oh
said that
god.
dad has pressures too.
Let's yeah, yeah, let's stop this podcast interview right now. Let's pray for Eric or pray for and Lowell. We're gonna pray for Eric and Lowell. Oh my
Well, and the
gosh,
thing
man.
is, going forward into time, he's now a
Oh,
forty-something father of his own 5 kids.
yeah,
I don't know that he's ever left his kids or forgot them to pick them up because of me. I said, "That's a lesson I taught you." I taught
man.
you to do that, and I haven't done a bad job as a father because the guy is just kicking it. He's really
That's yeah,
talk about coming
that's good.
up clutch. There's a
Yeah.
kid that really did some great things, so
It's good stuff. All right, so
all work.
now that we got at least our initial laughs out, I can't
Oh, yeah.
guarantee I won't start breaking out because when I'm with Lowell, it's a whole nother ball game. But Lowell, before we get into our discussion today around this whole concept of human performance and awareness, you recently published a new book. So could you give us a little teaser about it? Take 30 seconds, tease us about. We'll come back at the end
Yeah.
and share where everyone could get a link to it and get a copy of it.
Well, much of what I did in the book is what I do in my life as a professional and as a human being, because I don't think there is any separation between work and life. You are who you are everywhere you are. And so my book is about mental performance coaching. It's called Coach Me Up, Desire for Excellence.
Mm,
And yes, there are a lot of sports metaphors because that's my primary focus is sports and entertainment, elite performers. But whatever I teach them theoretically is based on anything that can be used by anyone who desires to be their best in any given moment. So
yeah.
today I wanted to take a component out of the book and talk about a foundational piece of getting to your best. If you're not aware of what's coming, it's hard to generate the skill of engaging your body and mind in a connection that's going to be able to deal with what's coming at you.
Yeah.
Listen, change is inevitable. We all know change is there. We just hate to admit it's coming.
Yeah.
We want
Yeah.
stability, right? Except for those elite performers, people that are, facing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, people that are finding that when they jump off of one leg and spin 4 times in matter of seconds and land on a less than a fraction of an inch blade on ice, those people wanna know about awareness and being
Mhm.
ready for the unexpected a little bit ahead of time. So we're gonna talk about awareness and how to do that, how to be sharper.
So you say, I mean, we're going to get right into it. We're just going to go dive head first here. You've said that improving on this awareness topic, that improving your environmental awareness is the first place to start for, unlocking your best, improving your personal performance. First off, like what the heck do you mean by that?
Well, that's and I answered that question for myself years ago because I was befuddled by all the different sources of information we were receiving, and this is before AI and, many, many years ago. We have 5 inputs that we naturally control, our 5 senses. Just simplify it right down to that level. You have
Mm,
what you hear, what you see, what you smell, what you taste, and what you feel. Now, we can have some debate about feel and taste in this example, but if you examine those 5 inputs carefully and wrap them with what is important to you, your priorities, the desires that drive you to do the things you do through the lens of 5 inputs, you can do things like this, which I suggest in the book. Take a walk at the end of a day, at the beginning of a day, or anytime you want. But when you take a walk and you're controlling that momentum and the surface you're walking on, bring it into your senses. You feel it under your feet. You feel the wind on you. You smell things. You see things. You hear things. But what are you hearing? That's where I want people to go. What are you seeing? Are you seeing the color of the tree or the needles in the pine? Are you
Mm.
seeing the color of the bark or the texture and formation of the bark? And are you feeling and hearing the gravel or surface under your feet? When you start getting to those levels of awareness, it then expands itself to a podcast. What am I seeing? What's the texture behind James's, picture in front of me? What is James doing with his face? And I then equate that to you're an offensive lineman. There's a defensive tackle in front of you. Are you seeing the things you need to see? In an old book, North Dallas 40 talked about the highs and lows of professional football. Well, it talked about offensive linemen looking at the squinching of the hands of defensive linemen in front of them. And when they saw the whites of their knuckles on the right side versus the left, they knew they were coming at me from his right or my left
Hmm.
because that was a signal. They were aware of that stuff. They
Mm.
were getting sensitized to that kind of stuff.
So make the connection between, okay, so we're activating our senses. We have this environmental awareness. Make the connection between how that translates into bringing out our best, whether it be intellectually,
Yeah.
in the boardroom, physically on the field. Like how do we cross that bridge?
I give athletes, any client actually, but athletes in particular, I give them what's called mirror talk. Let me say it again, mirror talk. You get up in the morning, you swing your legs over the bed, you're ready to go, and you head to the bathroom. Well, there's certain things we automatically do, all right? We relieve ourselves, but there's a mirror in there. We're gonna see the mirror. You're gonna talk to yourself in the mirror. Because if you're like what I ask my clients to do is plan your week. Now it's a Monday morning. You've done your plan. You know what the week is like. You talk to yourself in the mirror. Now this is truly real-time visualization. You're visualizing yourself and you're talking to self and you're saying and bringing out that self-talk component, that psychobabble for a lot of people. But here's a real self-talk moment when you mirror talk. You go through your schedule for you. It's all about you. So you're explaining to yourself, this is what I want to accomplish this week. This is what my goals are. I set these up for me based on my priorities and my needs with the filters of resourcing 5 senses of input and
Mm,
practicing heightening that awareness through the walks that I take.
mm.
You know how humbling that is to talk into the mirror all by yourself in the bathroom? That takes courage. I've got, Pro Bowl and all pro, individuals that when I first mentioned that, they go, "Oh, okay, I'll give it a try, coach, because you've got experience at this." And they come
Yeah.
back and they go,
It's like that
"That
was
was
bad.
damn." You're literally facing off to yourself.
Yeah.
You can't lie to that person. And if
No.
you do, you're gonna miss a beat. And
So
that's the
go
connection.
ahead. So, okay, so this has come up many times because obviously, working with players as well, working with executives as well, awareness is a big piece of the puzzle that we talk about. And I remember a client of mine asked me this question, and I'm going to actually throw it right back at you because it segues perfectly into this. He goes, "Man, I love how much more aware I am, but sometimes I feel like I'm too aware." So my question to you, Lowell, could we almost get too aware
Yeah.
to where that awareness, instead of translating into action, turns into analysis paralysis and overthinking?
Um, I'm gonna say
Curious.
I'm gonna say a qualified yes, and the qualifying is your, connecting of all 5 senses. So in the moment that you feel overly aware, I'm my hearing, I'm hearing everything, everything, and maybe I'm seeing movement too and lights and, oh my overload, overload. Now some people are built that way. They are just naturally that way because they're neurodiverse. There's a neurodiverse issue with them, the lighting and movement and color
Sure.
and different things. That's an awareness for them. So the minute anybody feels that overconsumption of stimulus through any one or a combination of their 5 senses, time out. That's your
Mm.
barometer. Now, for me, I have certain things, and everybody's different, but I have certain things. And for those who don't see it, but you're only hearing me, I've got a little piece of cloth that I carry with me. It's in my, old as I am, my coin purse.
Oh gosh.
So this is a piece of cloth that has a texture to it that really strikes me. The feel of it puts me into a different place. When I feel overloaded by other senses in any given day, you can imagine how many, pregame celebrations, homecomings, big tournaments, lights, cameras, forms. Because I'm down among. I have to back away.
Mm.
I mean, I don't have a problem with crowds, but when it's all of those things together, I gotta pull out my little piece of cloth, get to the side, move away, and control it. Now,
Ooh, that's good.
to answer your question then with that kind of strategy is to admit you have input to those 5 senses that get overloaded. So my qualified answer was yes. Yes, you could be overstimulated, overloaded. But that doesn't mean you back off and ignore it. Adjust and adapt, compensate with the feeling, what I did in my example, my feeling of my cloth compensated for my eyes and my hearing so
Mm.
that I
Mm.
leveled things out and I maintained my control and I
This
could
is so
continue.
good. This is so good because one of the questions I wanted to ask you is like, how do you coach someone to use their senses to reset under pressure? What you're describing right now, what we talk about in my world, is like you're pressing a reset button, but it takes awareness to know. If I'm hearing you right, Lowell, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
It takes a level of awareness to know. This awareness has turned into a little bit of overstimulation. I need to stop. I need to hit a reset button so I can get back on track.
Exactly. And resiliency is a term that incorporates all of these 5 senses awareness thing because to become resilient, by the way, you can train resiliency. To become resilient, you have to be aware of these 5 inputs
Mm.
and be able to understand and practice that awareness so that you know when you're getting over the top sensory wise
Yeah.
in advance to change pushing you. You can see, like, when football teams typically go into an arena of an away game and go and walk the stadium and see what's there. And when I was working with Colorado State University, they were going through the motions. They had their suit and tie on, they're posing, they're getting pictures taken with themselves and their teammates. I go, "You can continue to do that, but stop the inadequacies of what you're doing as it relates to your performance capability.
Mm.
See the things that are gonna bother you. Are you seeing shapes and colors?" I've discovered kids that are colorblind in these events, and knowing that we have to make sure we adjust the shading for them. It's a shame if it
Mm.
was a quarterback because 'cause he'd throw the wrong colored jersey.
That would not be good.
Not good, not good.
Was that your issue in Houston?
Well,
Were you color? Did
no,
you
it
not
was
see the
just
white
purely not
ball?
getting my hand up quick enough to catch the frickin' ball. And I was a catcher in college. That's what really
Oh,
bothers me.
Lord have mercy.
So so when you get those understandings through those exercises, you do things like expanding it to the individual because every individual is different.
Mm.
I'll discover things like color blindness. I'll discover neurodiverse issues. Like if we went to when we went to Alabama, Alabama's got 4 different jumbotrons in the stadium, and they start up all of that activity, that noise, that music, that color changes, um, while we are working out in our shorts and t-shirts way early. That's like an hour and a half before the game starts. getting into the heads of our kids.
Hmm.
And basically what I said to the team at one time, and you may know this name, Shaq Barrett, who played for,
Oh yeah.
in Florida for the Buccaneers, and before that, he was with the Broncos, two-time Super Bowl winner, and All-Pro. I said to Shaq, I said, "Look at come over here, and look at your teammates working out here. What do you see?" And he didn't quite get it. I said, "Do you see anybody really focused on the movement of getting prepared?" Oh, heads are up, they're looking around, they're listening to the noise. I said, "Do you see that? Are you aware of that? What should you do about
Mm.
that?" "Coach, I don't know." But this is this is the exercise. You should know so that if you see it, you prepare for it again. I said, "Go to every one of them and say, 'Make this place your own.' Talk back to the students that are in the stand and tell them, 'I'm here.' Yeah, give me more noise, give me more." That helped us. We lost the game at Alabama, but the game was, uh, 14-7 was the end of the game. And we sacked the quarterback who went on to become he was a Heisman Trophy candidate. He went on
Yeah.
to play in the NFL, uh, and we sacked him 3 times, and Shaq had 2 of them.
Mm.
We were
Mm, mm, mm.
we did a good job for a team that season, we went 4-10, I think. And the
So the
next year,
key
we went to our next 2 bowl games the next 2 seasons.
So what you're hitting on, by the way, you're listening to this today. This is, Lowell's piece of cloth, whatever it could be for you. I mean, it could be anything. But the point is, like, when you're feeling overstimulated, when you're over aware, find something to hit the reset button with,
Yep.
because for me, it's a lot of bright lights inside, Lowell. Like, so when there's a lot of talking and I'm within an environment of really bright lights, I need to remove myself and hit my own reset buttons. But the point is have something as a backup. The other thing I want to segue on, Lowell, is there a point? So you're hitting hard. You're pushing us to be aware of our 5 senses, to engage with our 5 senses, and that's gonna be a key piece of bringing out our best,
Yep.
performing our best, et cetera, et cetera. Are we in the default sometimes is to ignore the sense, ignore the feeling, ignore what we see, ignore what we hear, because we think, well, if I block this out, then I'll be able to be more focused. I'm curious what you have to say to that. And if there's even a problem with ignoring, quote unquote, our senses, because it's actually taking more mental energy to ignore them than to engage them.
Yeah, you hit on a couple of key points. The latter one I'll go with first, and that you're you're putting too much energy into the adjustment to what's overstimulating you. That's not a good thing. That's
Mm,
taking energy away from what could be applied towards an activity that really is a high performance effort. And you're not doing it because you're distracted and putting energy towards the diminishment. The issue is, and this is counterintuitive and takes some courage and practice to get here, is you feel the overload. You just back up, take a breath,
yeah.
4 in, 4 out, 4 in, do the box breathing, whatever method you use, and get to that equilibrium to stay away from getting sucked into that overload. And as I said with the cloth example, is shift it to another sense that's gonna help you adapt and reduce that stimulus from the eyes and the hearing.
Mm,
So there can be physical devices like your example about the bright lights for you. Some people need blue lens glasses or different color lens glasses when they feel that. That helps puts an adjustment there and it helps you
mhm,
get better position. It could be also emotional overload because of all the senses getting cranked up, and where you just, oh my God, I can't hit the strike zone to save my life, but I can throw 100 miles an hour. Well, how do
mm,
I get the strike zone? Well, let's discover why that is. We discover that I throw my best when my parents are in the stands. I calm down, I see them, I hug them, I talk to them, and all of a sudden, he gets an opportunity because I asked the GM at the franchise to bring him up from AAA and give this kid a shot. I fixed the strike zone issue by
Hmm.
simply having his parents in the stands when we tried out in front of the dance. And they said, "What, do you want us to have his parents there at every game and pay for that?" I said, "No, but acknowledge the fact that he needs that.
Yeah.
Give him the support." And all of a sudden he becomes, a Cy Young candidate.
It's interesting you bring this up, and I want to get into Coach Me Up a little bit, your book,
Yeah.
because I know we've been talking about awareness. I want to get into motivation, which is another big topic. It's interesting you mentioned this about the player's family. Recently was just this past off season or the past season started working with a Major League Baseball player who he's so close to his family, like so close to his family, and he's got young kids, so he's in. I'm like, hey, I'm curious, man. Like, do you ever FaceTime your family before games? And he looked at me and he's like, well, N no, JR. I mean, that I gotta get locked in and I got my routines. Right? I said, "Well, hey, man, like, couldn't that be part of your routine?" And then we got into why, the family and the feeling and like
Mhm.
all of that. Guess who had a great season? Guess who learned how to be much calmer? Guess who was more connected to why he was playing? Like it opened up the Pandora's box, if you will. Like it just
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
flooded him with information that was used to actually bring out his best.
Now, you're bringing up individual examples that are great to championship behavior. That because we make the adjustments, make the changes, increase the awareness, they have a heightened perspective of being what to do for themselves and address their desires. What would happen if that particular example caught on to teammates
Team.
and the culture of the game? So that is what I talk about in measuring desire and having a scientific process for that, that influences the culture. So even though baseball is considered a team sport, to me, it's a conglomeration of individuals that make up a team. So every individual has to be thinking about how do I impact somebody else?
Yeah, that's good. So let's talk. So obviously, Lowell, I have a bunch of former athletes who are now leading
Yeah.
companies, leading their families, what have you. Uh, but back up. Let's talk athlete first, though.
Okay.
What's the biggest misconception that the athletes that you've worked with have about motivation? Because this has come up a lot. Like, and I actually just did a social media post about this. It's like, I must have a motivation problem. Well, JR, I just must have a motivation problem. I don't want to do this or I don't want to do this. And I go, is it really a motivation problem? I'm just curious. What have you seen as this biggest misconception about motivation?
Well, the first one is before they get to the comments you just made, is that they need motivation at all. I already know this. I'm a pro. So at the college and pro level, what do I need motivation for? I got where I've got because I'm good at motivating myself. I have my own routines. I've dealt with it. I'm good at it. That in itself is a very big umbrella misconception of the measurement of need for motivation. Now, that then is countered by every person is individual, um, qualities and characteristics of the means to which they get excited, they get driven to do something. So, regretfully, we have cultures in every sport that have their own take on motivational technique. So, coaches in baseball have a different approach to it than NFL coaches in football or figure skaters or whoever it is.
Sure.
The common ground for every one of those differences is they're human beings. Every human being has 5 places that give them information. What we have to do is match that up to what desires do they have to fulfill. So
Mm.
I'll take your example about the lights. I see some lights flashing. All of a sudden, that's an immediate thought that, "Oh, man, I gotta get back on track and be motivated and focused on my purpose." But the lights are just, "Oh my god, what am I gonna do about that?" Well, you say to yourself, "Why am I here? What is it that's driving me to be even present here? Is that enough to get me through this? Or is it a combination of, all right, take a breath. You know, the doc said, hey, bring out these different aspects. I'll feel something because it's lights in my eye. I'll feel, okay, I'll get, but now I still got to answer the question. Why am I here? Get me back on
Hmm.
the focus path. And it's uniquely your own answer to the question why. You know why you're there. You just have to make sure you bring it forward. And nothing anybody will say in the locker room or in the hotel lobby or in the boardroom is going to make a difference because they don't necessarily know what the drivers are that gets you going or
That's good.
helps you to recover from that.
Yeah. I, I'm curious. Do you see any changes about this whole idea of motivation in, call it midlife versus
100%.
competitive sports? Because again, you got, sure, you got the athlete, the pro athlete listening to this show, but you also have the executive athlete who's, a 40 something, married, leading his kids and leading boardrooms and big deal discussions and what have you. Does that change? Have you seen that change in midlife?
Yeah, regretfully, I haven't seen enough change. So I'm gonna honor the fact that change does happen and there has been change, but there's not been enough change in the categorical areas of motivation that need to be changed. Example, you need to use physical examples that relate directly to the needs and desires of the individual to be effective with any motivational technique. If it's just you talking, standing on a podium or a DS and sharing whatever you're sharing with them and think because they're clapping and they're cheering with you that they're
Yeah.
motivated, not necessarily. That's an over presumptive standard. Or that the cheerleaders, the colors, the pageantry, all of that together is gonna, "Woo, I'm excited, I'll do my best." No, not necessarily, because we're not sharing enough of the means to get that individual performer hooked into their desires and using all those 5 resources that gathering information connected to those desires so that when they jump out of the locker room, the coach knows by looking in their eyes, they can say, "They're connected. They
Mm,
got it."
mm, yeah. So if you were, I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you were, let's say we invited another high performing leader into this conversation today.
Mhm.
He feels slightly misaligned, not burned out,
Yeah.
but just feeling this heaviness, feel like something's off. I'm curious, what's a daily practice you would install or encourage that person to take or to measure to help them recalibrate their
Yep.
desire?
Well, the first thing is not necessarily a daily thing, and that's using, a a intrinsic motivation assessment tool that I help create called the RMP, and that basically gives me a very quick reference as to who are you and what are your desires. So with that data in front of me, and it's data, it's numbers. It's not a set of letters that tell me are you um, motivated to be out there or you're reticent and you hold back. Um, with that data, I can then direct myself to specific things that are uniquely theirs and call them out to continue to own that. Remember, this is who you are, not what somebody says you are. This is who you reported, answered, agreed to, and know that's
Yeah.
who you are. If you're a person who likes others to accept them, you have a high desire for acceptance from someone, that means you're going to be listening to them to get their approval before you're going to get charged up. So if a
Hmm.
coach knows that, every time they come off the playing surface, they're going to be going, "Nicely done, James. Nicely done. You're great. You're awesome."
Yeah. Yeah.
Validating their acceptance. Now, that one thing is not what defines them. There's our other biggest mistake in motivating. We believe it's one dimensional.
Hmm.
It's not inclusive of all that makes who you are um, present. So when I know that from the data that it's not just your acceptance, I also look at things like Okay, are you curious? Are you asking questions? So if you want people to accept you, you're gonna be asking questions of yourself. "Oh my
Hmm.
god, did I do it right? Did they like it?" So you wanna make sure with those kind of people, you have an environment that you've created that reinforces all of those desires. Now in big teams, that can be problematic sometimes and costly because you're gonna have to have environments that are kinda creative, but we've got examples that have done that. Google,
Hmm.
all the stuff that Google has in their environments allows people to choose the devices and the environments that fit them
Hmm.
and support their needs. Whether it's a crazy bicycle that you can get for free or it's unlimited food resources in their very, nutritional cafeteria, whatever it is, or it's the egg-shaped sleep chair. Whatever it is. Some of it's a little bit crazy, but it's addressing the basic need to address the desires, the unique desires of every individual so that we as leaders know where are the boundaries. How far
Yeah.
do I have to go? How hard do I have to push in a way that it's reasonable and acceptable by the individuals I want to motivate.
H- How does so you mentioned this assessment tool RMP, which we can get a link to this, right?
Yep.
That I
Yep.
could put in the show. Okay. So how does that differ from like Strength Finders test
Or
and
Myers-Briggs or any of the other.
Myers-Briggs and DISC and some of those other personality assessments? I'm curious. And the other thing, and I want to put a placeholder in this. I'm also curious because there's probably someone listening wondering, okay, great. Well, what if I don't take the assessment? Is there a way to figure out my desires without
Oh,
it?
sure. Sure. But it takes
So
longer.
yeah.
It takes
Oh,
longer.
yeah.
The
Yes.
the RMP, was created, by, Dr. Stephen Reese. He spent, and what I'm telling you right now addresses the biases in self-reporting assessment tools. So everyone that we mentioned, Myers-Briggs, DEC, so on
Yeah,
and on, those are all self-reporting assessment tools. You're going through a survey. There are biases with those surveys. It takes time and money to mitigate those biases. We've done that in the RMP. We've Dr. Reese spent over 30 years talking to people, qualifying 16 different factors, right down to the names of each of the 16. As an example, we have beauty as a desire measurement. Well, when he first started the study and the research on whether or not that was the right one, he had sex, the desire for companionship, intimacy, all those things that define that.
sure.
Well, in certain parts of the world, that word sex is a no-no. You don't even they don't even care about what you're gonna explain it as. That word sex means something very negative and not socially acceptable to them. Went
Hmm.
through many iterations of that. So I'm giving you the detail of how scientifically based this data is to the point where I can predict trends and patterns of human behavior with an 80% level of certainty, problematically, and with the probability around it. So I'm pretty confident, and now I've got years of experience with all different levels of athletes and executives to confirm that. So
Sure.
I can have not can I have had defensive coordinators practice with these numbers so that they can substitute more effectively the right combination of linebackers to get the ball back. And all you have to do is look at the CS Colorado State University, New Mexico Bowl against Washington State University. We won that game in the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds of the game because
Because of that
the
strategy.
coaches were powered with this information. Shaq
Yeah.
Barrett and I were standing on the sidelines, and he was talking about how his whole mindset about how he's gonna go very calm. He knew exactly what he was gonna do. He knew exactly how he was gonna get a fumble created. He was visual as the kids call it, "I'm manifesting. I'm manifesting my."
My energy.
Yeah, these words are just so crazy, but I love the words if they have the actions behind them. Prove to me you know
Sure.
what this means. So,
Right.
great examples about the RMP, and all you have to do is go to, 360mindset.com, and you'll find the RMP. It's right there, and
Okay.
stories, you've got videos of me and talking about it, but the point you were asking me about is basically how do I know it's gonna work? Well, got proof and concept. It works. It's not magic. It's not, uh, I don't want to be disparaging against anybody that's out there trying to make a living through a Myers-Briggs or a deck or anything like that. But the science and the proof of concept are there. It works.
Well, but again, the underlying thesis here that you made is we have to be in tune with our desires.
Yeah.
We have to.
Yeah.
And that coupled with this whole discussion of awareness, I mean, it's a double-edged sword in terms of you unlocking your best, you performing at your highest level, you being the present father, the present husband, all that fun stuff. We have to have a level of awareness, and we have to be clear on what our desires are.
Well, and here's another, James, here's another real life example in corporate America. And it happens to deal with two people that I know really well because of this. Both were consultants with a very large publicly traded company that had huge acquisitions. They had 4 acquisitions in less than 5 years, and at no time did the executives who said, "Go acquire these companies," did they say, "Hey, let's find something out about the people, so we know how to
Mm.
envelope them into and fold them into our culture." Didn't do that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what
Yeah.
that lack of understanding did to the financial statements? They have yet to date been able to get a certified audit completed because they're still going through SOX work and all this kind of stuff. The bottom line was this: my clients were diametrically opposed. One gentleman was very anal retentive, very neurodiverse in his behaviors, and had you could insult him to his face and he wouldn't even flinch. That's how neurodiverse he is. So he was just on a mission, very anal retentive,
Sure.
very detailed in his approach. The female part of this was the financial consultant to the organization, and she needed answers, but she
Mm.
wasn't going to work after 6 p.m. at night. He loved food, loved to go out to dinner and have these huge meetings for hours and hours over a meal, talking about business. They were missing delay or appointments after appointments after appointments on submitting their work, and it was at the point where somebody was gonna get fired,
Mm.
and it was gonna keep the system stalled. So I went and did the RMP and discovered the differences in their desire matrix and showed them how to interact with each other and give forgiveness to one another because she thought he was an asshole and was
Sure.
just, being dominating and insensitive. Well, now they're wonderful friends because they have a level of understanding and awareness of
Understanding.
who each other was. And now there's the the corporate entity still hasn't been able to file a certified audit yet, but those people are really doing well together. Um, so those are the kind of outcomes you can get in team dynamics with knowing and measuring human desire.
Yeah. But it starts with understanding your own first. I
Yeah,
mean,
you got to
it's
start with
just,
you
yeah.
and own it
So good, man.
and
Gosh
own
darn.
it.
Hey, we recovered from the from the laughing fit from the beginning. I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be a rough one. We're gonna be laughing the whole time. To I mean, this is just it's a fascinating conversation that we're probably gonna have to have in several of these conversations, Lowell, if you're up
Love it.
for it, because I mean, we just touched the surface today. But I love how we can talk at it in fourth grade terms because there is a lot of leadership speak and psychobabble, all that stuff going on there right now. And at the end of the day, people are going, "That's great. How do I implement this?"
Yeah.
Like, and right out of the gate, I mean, we're talking about we got a reset button that you learned on this episode today, and you learn like, probably a good idea to get crystal clear on what drives you, what your core desires are. Because the fun thing about business and as an entrepreneur, when we talk about marketing, all marketers are doing is targeting your key desire.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's if you think about it, so that's how important this desire thing is because it really drives so much
Well,
of our day
and
to day.
James, in the simplicity, I'm glad you brought that up again because if you've been watching the marketplace and who's messaging about what the future looks like as it relates to our desire and opinions about data, Amazon is targeting athletes with AI data. They're saying, we have the solution, we have a model. Guess who's right
Mhm.
behind them? Microsoft in their modeling of their AI applications.
Yeah.
Well, what the audience they want to talk to, they don't have a clue. They it goes back to what you asked me about motivation. What's the first thing that's a misconception in motivate? Well, if we don't solve that one, we're sure as shit not going to talk about the AI stuff. I mean, it's just too much. It's too much overload. My
Yeah.
brain is on fire. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not dissing the AI tool. Don't get me wrong. It has a place, and I use it to filter the massive data when it comes to a team. I've got corporate cultures that I have applied the data gathering process to, and then with that information gone into the individuals, but with a surgical tool, I know exactly who I need to talk to when because of the measurement of their desires.
Yeah. Well, listen, we can't go deep on this one, so I'm gonna throw a cliffhanger out there. It's for
Okay,
our next
rock.
conversation. But I'll tell you, when you're clear on your desires, it's funny how you get less and less distracted.
I wouldn't.
I'm just I'm just throwing it out there.
I may
Just
not have
throwing it
missed
out
my
there.
son picking him up if I would have known exactly who I was. You know, God, my son is a
I
priority. Go pick him up.
Oh
Go
god.
pick
Bringing that back up in the context of what we just discussed, I there's so many things I wanna say about you and your never mind. I'm not even gonna go there. All right, Lowell, here's the deal, man. Before I put you on the spot with our big domino to close out the
okay.
episode, please share with our group where in our audience where we can find you. Of course, we'll have the show notes and all that, but just let us know where we can find you, where we could find the book, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's really easy. You just go to Amazon.com if you want to do that under Coach Me Up, Desire for Excellence, or website coachmeup.net.
Okay.
And you got everything you
Okay.
need right there.
Okay. Again, it we're going to make it easy for you. Just go to comingupclutch.com.
Yep.
You'll see the show notes. We will have everywhere you can follow Lowell. We're going to have where you get the books, his websites, all of that. So if you don't remember anything that he just shared, just go to
As long as
comingupclutch.com.
possible.
We'll have it all there. Okay. Just trying to make it easy for him, Lowell. Trying to make it easy for him. Okay.
Thank you.
Big domino question.
Okay.
I like to end the episode with this. And look, it could be something you already said and you just want to underscore. It could be something brand new. Okay. What's the one key takeaway you want us to make sure we walk away with today? Again, I call it the big domino because when you execute on this, everything else gets a little bit easier. In some cases, some things just get unnecessary to carry out.
Yeah,
What's that one thing you want us to take
and
away?
for me, the metaphor to your comment is the pebble being dropped in the water and the ripples that you create. And the pebble I'm gonna give you, I've mentioned before, is your 5 senses. Drop that in the water and collect the rings, connect the rings of your 5 senses so that you know that if I see something and it creates a feeling in me, do I just leave it with the visual input or does it affect other parts of me? And we shared a
Mm,
few things about that, but if I see flashing lights and all of a sudden I get a little wonky and I'm having difficulty staying focused on what the coach is telling me, that's a quick indicator you need to change. You need to adjust and adapt and connect the rings in the water that the pebble caused when you dropped it. And those pebbles could be different times, different moments, different environments. So from there, you've got all the cascading of the waterfall you need to collect information about yourself and able to start now with look at your bedroom. Do I need to change it to make it better for me? When I go to the mirror talk and I visualize myself and I get the courage to talk to myself and understand me, is it right? What about my car? What about my office? What about my locker? I, I've got kids in different college teams that they don't put the color of their team in their locker. I said, "Well, why don't you do that?" "I hate purple. I hate purple." I go, "Okay, then go talk to," because you know what the coaches and the team does? Everybody has a purple light in their locker.
Oh no.
Yeah. I said, "All right, I will advocate for you if you have a problem with it, but you don't need purple. If you hate purple, that's gonna cause your brain to shut down
Yeah,
every time you lace up." So, you have control of it. That's the bottom line for me in the metaphor of the pebble and the ripples.
it's good.
You have control. You drop the pebbles that need to be dropped when you need to drop them.
Lowell, you're amazing. Thanks for your time, your wisdom, your heart, your humor. I really appreciate you giving us all of it today,
Thank you.
and our audience
Get
appreciates it
nothing
too.
less, brother.
You're awesome. You're awesome. All right, crew. That is my good friend, Dr. Lowell Wightman. Now, here's the deal. If you were blessed by today's episode, if you learned something that you know is going to make you better, my ask is you pay it forward. Share this episode with someone you love and care about. Come up clutch for someone in your life that you know needs to be encouraged by what Lowell shared with us today. And again, if you want the show notes from today's episode, just go to comingupclutch.com and click on this episode. All right, this episode is a wrap. Until next week's 5-minute drill. Remember, winning isn't a result, it's a lifestyle. So keep pursuing that life of champions.
This episode is over. Get more no BS content to help you master your mind, body, and relationships by hitting subscribe. This is Coming Up Clutch with JR. Thanks for listening.